proponents of structural functional paradigm. Auguste Comte. He stressed social integration. To integrate means to be united. Herbert Spencer. He posited social Darwinism. Society is a social organism with interdependent parts performing specific functions for the system. Talcott Parsons. He treated society as a social system with basic tasks to perform. Emil Durkheim. He stressed that mechanical solidarity and organic solidarity holds society together. Mechanical solidarity refers to the customs and beliefs of conventional traditional societies. Organic solidarity refers to formal laws in modern society. Robert Merton. He explained that social functions are the consequences of any social pattern. He classified functions into manifest functions are the recognized and intended consequences of any social pattern. Latent functions are consequences that are largely unrecognized and unintended. Unintended functions gives problem. Social class states that people are classified according to wealth. Race pertains to the color of the skin. The proponents of social conflict paradigm. Karl Marx. He stressed class struggles. W.E.B. Du Bois. He pointed out racial conflict, racism. Coser and Dahrendorf. They advanced that prejudice and discrimination conflicts with seemingly organized cooperative groups brought about by power relations. The proponents of symbolic interaction paradigm includes George Herbert Mead, 1934. His major interest is everyday human interactions. He believed that our thoughts and feelings are not directly accessible to other people. They must be first be encoded into symbols, such as words, gestures, facial expressions, non-linguistic sounds, which must then be interpreted by others. W.I. Thomas, 1937. He pointed out that we continuously size up the here and now context in which we find ourselves and assign meaning to it. Thomas calls this process the definition of the situation. We examine the situation and mentally contemplate various courses of action. Irving Goffman, 1959. He advanced dramaturgy as a related theory to the symbolic interactionist paradigm. This presentation to self to other involves impression management. Impression management states that as we interact, we portray the best of ourselves. Harold Garfinkel, 1967. He focused attention on the taken for granted routine activities of our daily lives and the understandings that lie behind them. He termed his approach ethno-methodology. Ethnos is a Greek word meaning folk or people. Methodology refers to the procedures used in doing something. Hence, ethno-methodology is a perspective that examines the procedures that people use to make sense of their everyday experience. Peter M. Blau, 1964, and George C. Homans, 1947. They've advanced the social exchange approach to portray social interaction. They viewed social interaction as a more or less straightforward and rationally calculated series of mutually beneficial transactions. They assumed that human beings seek what they perceive to be rewards and avoid what they perceive to be costs. Their theory helps to explain the idea behind the norm of reciprocity, expectations that we should give and return equivalently in our relations with one another. Social exchange theory states that people interact because they need something. Major contemporary approaches to sociological theory. Neo-positivism. George Landberg, 1895 to 1966, American. He espoused qualification, behaviorism, and operationalism. Stuart Dodd, 1900s. He contributed the S theory as a qualitative, systematic theory of society. The symbol S representing situation. Situations are of four components: time, space, population, and characteristics. George Sipf, 1902 to 1950. The guiding postulate of his theory is the principle of least effort. That is, in situations allowing alternatives, people choose those procedures that result in the least average rate of probable work. William Ogburn, 1886 to 1959. He contributed the hypothesis or theory of culture lag. The lag between the adaptive culture or the non-material culture and the more advanced material culture. The non-material culture, di agad sila nakakasunod sa mga pagbabago ng modernong kultura. Human ecology. Robert Parks, 1864 to 1959, American. He introduced the term human ecology, competition as the basic process in the human relationships. Biotic factors as the proper field of study in human ecology. Ernest Burgess, 1886 to 1966, American. He introduced the concentric zones theory in the development of cities. Epicenter will be the center source of development and then it will go upward. Amos Hawley. His ecological theory proposes 5 ecological processes which bring about changes in the patterns of relationship: concentration, expansion or centralization, contraction or decentralization, segregation, and conversion. Walter Ferrey. He advanced the socio-cultural ecology, posited the theory that space may have symbolic value, cultural definition, and central values in the giving of meaning to space. Eugene Odum. He advanced the equilibrium theory, or a balanced development that is, maintaining a proper ecological system. His idea is in line with the concept of sustainable development. Social environment. It refers to group or society. Sociometry and microsociology. Jacob Moreno, Romanian, 1890 to 1974. He was the chief promoter of sociometry as a theory about informal structure of groups and a method of investigating that structure. Includes sociogram, psychodrama, and sociodrama. Robert Bales, 1916. He was a proponent of microsociology and the study of small groups. He developed the method for studying small groups called interaction process analysis. Symbolic interactionism. George Herbert Mead. Charles Cooley, William I. Thomas, Herbert Bloomer, 1900s. He theorized that meaning does not inhere in objects but derives from the uses people make of objects. He distinguished definitive concepts and synthesizing concepts. Magkaiba ang bagay sa gamit depende sa tumitingin. Irving Goffman. Functional approach. Florian Znaniecki, 1882 to 1958, Polish. He posited the postulate of universal cultural order, which is essential for the sociological comprehension of social and cultural phenomena. Talcott Parsons, 1902. He gave central importance to the concepts of social action and social systems. Posited the theory of action. Constructed 3 analytical systems: the social system, the personality system, and the cultural system. Robert Merton. He made a distinction between manifest and latent function. Concept of these functions implies the concept of strain, stress, and tension of the structural level. Dialectical sociology. Explaining what's going thesis and antithesis meets, there will be synthesis. George Gurevich, 1996 to 1965, Russian. He advanced the hyper-empiric dialectics, the dialectic method grounded in empirical reality, distinction between microsociology and macrosociology. Luigi Sturzo, 1871 to 1959, Italian. He advanced the theory of social harmonism, a synthesis of relationship between society and the individual. Ralph Dahrendorf, 1929, German. He advanced the theory of conflict dialectics, social relations based on power and social relation based on value consensus, conflict as inevitable aspect of authority structures. C. Wright Mills, 1916 to 1962, American. He was the founder of radical sociology, introduced the concept of sociological imagination in understanding relationship of individual and society, wrote The Power Elite in American Society. Sociological imagination states that we can understand what's going on us if we relate it on the society. Alvin Goldner, he posited reflexive sociology, or one that is value-committed rather than value-free. Louis Coser, he emphasized the functions of conflict in social life. Phenomenology Sociology, teorya ng pagmumuni-muni at wag padalos-dalos. Alfred Vierkant, 1867 to 1952, German. He advanced the use of phenomenological method or ideational abstraction, inner contemplation in understanding social phenomena. Alfred Scott, 1899 to 1959, Austrian. He advanced philosophical phenomenology, shared meanings as foundation of social life, analysis of intersubjective consciousness. Peter Berger and Thomas Lackman, they advanced the sociology of knowledge concerned with the social construction of reality. The common sense knowledge provides a sense of ordered reality in a person's daily life. Two kinds of thinking, inner and contemplation. Ordinary thinking. You act immediately without even thinking of its consequences. Reflective thinking. Before you react to a particular stimulus, think first its consequences. Ethnomethodology. Harold Garfinkel. He coined the term ethnomethodology, which means the study of folk or common sense methods of constructing and maintaining social reality. Stress is on understanding any situation from the point of view of the participants. Sociology of Knowledge. Karl Mannheim, 1896 to 1947, Hungarian. He advanced the influence of the entire social situation in shaping beliefs and the importance of social class in determining a person's basic world outlook. General conception of ideology provides the basis of sociology of knowledge. Exchange theory. George Humans. He developed the psychological exchange theory, which views human interactions as essentially an exchange of rewards and punishments or costs. When you do something good, you expect something in return, whether it is material or non-material. Peter M. Blau. He attempted to synthesize elements of functional analysis, conflict dialectics, and symbolic interactionism in the discussion of individual exchange relationships. People interact because they expect for something. Developmental theories. Gunnar Myrdal. He made a study on the poverty of 6 Southeast Asian nations, the Philippines included. He said that it is not only some economic policy that can develop our country but also our values. W. W. Rostow. He was an American economist who advanced the capitalist theory of development, or a theory on economic growth, According to him, on 1962, growth and development to economic maturity proceed through the following stages: 1. Traditional society; 2. The preconditions for takeoff; and 3. The takeoff; 4. The drive to maturity; and 5. The age of high mass consumption. Dos Santos, he asserted that underdevelopment of third world countries is a result of a capitalistic development known as dependent capitalism. A condition of dependence emerges in which an economy of a society is conditioned by the development and expansion of another society. The interdependence between the two economies becomes a dominant dependent relation or a metropolis-satellite linkage. Andre Frank, he advanced the theory of the development of underdevelopment. He theorized that the underdevelopment of Latin American countries is largely part of the historical product of the continuing economic, political, social, and cultural relations between the underdeveloped countries, which he called satellites, and the more developed country or metropole center. Samir Amin, he advanced the unequal development theory, that is, the distortion of the poor countries is a result of their becoming a part of the global capitalist system. Emanuel Wallerstein, 1974. He extended Frank's dependency theory and proposed a more general theory which he called world system theory. The first theory was confirmed to the unequal relationship between at least two given countries, the highly industrialized and the poor. The second theory deals with the totality of the economic systems of the world operated by a myriad of forces, all interacting with one another. Sociobiology. Edward O. Wilson, 1975, American. He advanced the theory of sociobiology to explain scientifically the basic reasons behind social phenomena. As defined, sociobiology means the systematic study of the biological basis of all social behavior. He also stated that the structure of the human body as a result of heredity has an enormous effect on our behavior. Postmodernists. Foucault. Foucault says that he only wants to talk about society as a whole when the time comes to destroy it. Foucault rejects both the traditional Marxist view of power and its view of the relations among truth, ideology, and power. In his analysis, power is not macro-level, centralized, unitary, force, nor is entirely negative or constraining. Power is microscopic and invades everything, including our bodies. This is one form of subjugation of the modern self. Biopower politics. Power is both enabling and constraining, so that politics amounts to the transgression of limits and the possibilities for action. Every society is dangerous. Power is always everywhere, and everything is political. Baudrillard. Baudrillard says that what is real and unreal depends on the person itself. Baudrillard carries the work of Kafka, Orwell, and McLuhan to their logical conclusions. If the social ever existed as an object of representation, study, or collective action, it no longer does, or else it has been transformed into an object of manipulation. Ours is an age in which the distinction between the reality and illusion has disappeared. Rather, what is real is itself a simulacrum. The medium is not only the message, but the hyperreal becomes the real. Lyotard. Lyotard develops a richer and more positive conception of politics, justice, and community than most postmodernists. For Lyotard, a community based on consensus and unity would be totalitarian precisely because it would ignore differences. Like Bakhtin, to whom he has been compared, Lyotard wants community and agreement to be based upon, even constituted by differences, particularly heterogeneity and fragmentation. Bell. Bell says that a new round take place between marginalized humanist, intellectual, and the new knowledge elites. There will be an increasing division and opposition between the technical intelligentsia, who are committed to functional rationality and technocratic modes of operation, and the literally intellectuals, who have become increasingly apocalyptic, hedonistic, and nihilistic. Contemporary feminist theory, Patricia M. Langerman and Jill N. Brantley. They advocate the feminist theory, that system of general ideas designed to describe and explain social life and human experience from a woman-centered vantage point. The feminist theory posits that women's location in and experience of most situations is different from and unequal to that of men. And in terms of a direct power relationship between men and women are oppressed, that is, restrained, subordinated, molded, used, and abused by men. Thus, the feminist theory can be classified as a theory of difference or of inequality, of oppression. Feminist movement. Fight for the right of men and women.